This shit ain't nothing to me, man. I'm a conspiracy theorist. My blunt laced with adrenochrome. Hit that shit and woke up at the Denver airport. Antarctica might be fake, but this ice is real. They call me George, cause I got that W. Bush. Broke boy stole all my jet fuel, so I melted him with that steel beam. Fucked up off 20 Bohemian Benadryls. Tried shooting my shot with the Hat Man.
Dropped my side piece cause her BBL was faker than the moon landing. Hit a broke boy with a 5G ray, turned him into a GMO. Wrist got more ice than Walt Disney's body. Money longer than Epstein's flight logs.
Heard your man was talking to the cops, so I give him that Boeing treatment. My girl bad as hell. Your shawty flatter than the earth.
Ops put fluoride in my Henny, so I social distanced their head from their bodies. What's good, everyone? Today we are discussing Facebook's transphobic conspiracy queen, who goes by Queen Anonymous Snow on Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, that's right, she calls herself Queen. And that's kind of wild to me because, like, dude, how are you going to give yourself a royal title and expect other people to use it? To be fair to her, I also refer to myself with a royal title, but that's my actual name, so I get a pass. But back to the topic. Anonymous Snow is a conspiracy theorist, and I found her while doing research for my video on transvestigators, because she was one of the creators of the groups that they congregate in. Like, she is the founding transvestigator. And I found her interesting in particular, because for one, again, she's one of the first transvestigators. That's absolutely wild. Like, how do you come up with this theory? But for two, she mixes it with like 10 other weird conspiracies, and it's honestly quite an interesting case study into conspiracy theorists. Like, I've said it before, but you never find a conspiracy theorist who just believes in, like, one thing. Like, oh yeah, that's Dave over there. He believes the government is ran by lizard people, but he thinks the idea of chemtrails is too far. Like, no, it's always a way bigger cocktail of every dumb idea all at once. And Anonymous Snow is a perfect example of this. Like, she's basically J.K. Rowling if she started snorting the black mold instead of just living in it. So today, we're gonna do a deep dive into one of the most bizarre creators I've ever seen on social media, and laugh at some of the weird and hateful shit she says. Well, let's get it. So obviously, if you don't know what a transvestigator is, you're probably confused as hell right now. Someone should make a video about that. Nope! Don't click away, I see you moving your hands. Stay on this one, it's better, I swear. But basically, a transvestigator is someone who believes that pretty much any public figure, from celebrities, actors, politicians, they're all secretly transgender. And they typically find this out by like looking at their pictures and being like, oh look, this person has wide hips. That means that they probably are female to male. Sounds transphobic, invasive, and hateful? That's because it is. The reason they try and expose these people is because they believe that trans people are like, I don't know, they don't really have a consistent belief system, but most of them believe that they're working for like the devil or the Illuminati or something. Or they're planning to like destroy American family values or something. But really, it doesn't have to make sense to them. Their bottom line is just making up random so they can justify transphobia. And personally, I know it's supposed to be a bad thing, but their claim that trans people are demonic secret agents makes them sound rad as hell, okay? Like, sorry, gotta say something like that so I can get some of those George Soros bucks. You know, I gotta fund my black mold addiction somehow. But moving on, despite how hateful they are, transvestigators are absolutely hilarious because they claim that absolutely everyone with any shred of public attention is secretly trans. Like, literally everyone, from historical figures like Richard Nixon, all the way to our modern philosophers, such as Haley Welch and the Rizzler. I'm not even joking about those two. Within like 2 days of Hawk Tuah blowing up, there were already transvestigation posts about Haley Welch. And you could trust me on that. I am tapped in with idiot culture, alright? Anytime there's a new conspiracy, I've already been knowing about it. Like, my research for this channel typically just consists of me following all the dumbest people I possibly can on all social media platforms I own. So I know what's going on in the idiot-verse. But anyways, while transvestigation is already goofy enough on its own, Anonymous Snow, like I said, combines this with like 10 other weird conspiracies, and then also mixes it with like religion and spirituality. It's bizarre. Here's an example. All presidents are female. All first ladies are male. Selected, not elected. Trump was bailed out of debt by Rothschild, funded by Soros, foreshadowed as president on Simpsons and Lego Movie. Just the tip of the red flag iceberg. Clown also brags about being the father of the kill shot. She has such a way with words, man. See what I mean? It's like, the premise itself is already wild, that every president and first lady is transgender and working for the devil. But not only does she make this wild claim, but she follows it up by saying that Biden is proud of making the kill shot, which is just a really badass name for the vaccine. And the claim that Trump's presidency was foreshadowed by the Lego Movie. You know, as if the Lego Movie is just some sacred prophetic text. Like, holy shit, that's the man that the Lego Movie predicted! And this type of thing is just why I find her posts absolutely hilarious. So let's start going through them. Starting with YouTube. So she mainly does lifestyle type vlogs, usually centered around veganism. And it's really funny to me because like, I feel like some people might stumble upon her organically and be like, oh look, a nice like vegan lifestyle creator. I want to see what's up with them. And then they go click on her account and they're expecting to see like, vegan centered content. But no, they see a video about flat earth drama. What drama is even in that community? That's my question. Like, what could you possibly be debating over? Dude, I'm telling you, the sky is obviously a dome, alright? No, then how do you explain the moon? It's obviously a projector. Flat earth debates are like watching people debate whether 2 + 2 = 5 or 6. Like, it's genuinely cringe-inducing watching people debate and like both sides are wrong. You're probably gonna see a lot of that in this video. But when Anana Snow isn't covering flat earth drama, she's giving us transvestigation classes. Let's check out her Transvestigation 101 video, which claims that all adult content actresses are secretly transgender. Oh boy. More like, oh girl. So for the first part of the video, she gives us a pop quiz. So she shows a bunch of people and says, are these trans women or cis women? She obviously didn't say it like that. She said male or female, but like, just don't be a jerk. It's that easy. And then at the end, she reveals that all the people she showed were either drag performers or trans women. And her point was like, oh, look at how well they quote-unquote blend in. Which I laughed so hard when I first saw this, because I feel like this is like super validating on accident. It's like, damn, imagine getting used as an example of how well you pass. You know what I mean? I feel like that's gotta be really encouraging. It's like that one parrot that only bites women and it bit that one trans Twitter user. Like, it's intended to be a jerk, but it's actually pretty gender affirming. He doesn't hate trans women because they're trans. It's because they're women. Back to Anana though. Before I show you some footage, I should probably explain why she's half naked. I think I'll have to crop a lot of the video so I don't get demonetized. Basically, for one, she uses this as kind of like a thirst trap to like lure in horny 40-year-old dudes on Facebook. Like, I swear, married Facebook men are the least loyal people in the world. It's like, they will have a wife that will do literally everything for them because of like 1960s gender expectations, and then they'll hop on Facebook, see a semi-nude woman talking about how trans people are satanic secret evil beings or whatever, and just be like, dude, that's the one. I've been married for 40 years, but that's the one. But yeah, so she does it partly to appeal to that audience. She has like a lot of like orbiters who will send her gifts. Orbiter, I hardly know her. And for two, she uses it as a way to like prove that she's a real woman, quote unquote. That's what she calls it. I'm just gonna say cis woman. But we'll get into that whole drama a little bit later. Continuing on with like her orbiters. So a lot of them just like accept literally everything she says as fact so easily. It's like, wow, a half-naked woman said it. That must be true.
Subscribe to Royal Young.
Oh look! A half-naked woman said that. I guess you gotta do it. Well, like, again, you're gonna see pretty soon, this video is one of the dumbest things I've ever watched, and everyone in the comments is acting like it's just pure gold. But like, look at this comment, man. This dude said he stopped watching this sort of material because of her foolproof revelations. Which, like, wow, could it be that this material is bad because it commodifies people's bodies, exploits vulnerable women, who have to choose between this and being homeless? Or even could it be that it harms the people who watch it by giving them false expectations and changing the brain's reward pathways? Nah, all that. The real issue is that you're actually jorking it to trans women. Remarkable. Insane IQ from this comment section. It's awesome. So adult material actresses are not the only group that Anana claims are all trans.
It is musicians, it is models, actresses, actors, sports stars, politicians, and even leaders of the truther community. All of these entities are deceivers playing for Team Satan.
So according to her, every prominent figure is playing for Team Satan. And she never really fully explains what it means to be on Team Satan. Like, okay, what are these trans people doing then? Could it be that they're just living their lives? Or could it be that all the people you point out aren't actually trans? No, they're all playing for Team Satan. But my other question is like, what motive do they have to do that? Like, what do they even gain? And once again, we got a great example of idiot infighting. But yeah, she's basically claiming that certain anti-vaxxers and flat earthers might also be part of the, like, trans agenda. Which, like, why would they be? What do they gain from, like, stoking this opposition to themselves? I don't know. I'm taking it way too seriously. I gotta stop thinking of things on her logic because I get a little dumber every time. like I'm gonna keep reiterating in this video, nothing she says really has to make too much sense. It just has to make enough sense that she can use it as an excuse to, like, scapegoat and hate trans people. Also, side note, but the makeup here is definitely interesting. She looks like she's about to start screaming about her blood. But anyways, how does she come to these conclusions? How does she just one day decide, you know, I think just everybody is transgender and I think they're all evil? Well, immediately after this, she shows a compilation of a lot of celebrities making jokes about, like, being the other gender or whatever.
Give me those.
You pricked my finger.
You're such a woman.
Well, you were the woman.
No, I'm the man.
Who am I?
The man.
Who am I?
And she's just like, yup, see that? They're putting it right in our face, pause. And like, dude, look how fucking smug she is during this. She's just like, yup, point proven, these people are being totally serious. I love this, bro. And I love how, like, self-confident conspiracy theorists are, because they'll be saying just the stupidest thing imaginable and just giving the camera this look. I love it. I love it so much. And also, Anana, what if they want you to think they're trans, huh? What if this is part of the even deeper cis agenda? Better get some cis-vestigators out here. Continuing on, though, she plays this clip and then goes on to say some heinous shit.
I don't find myself even the littlest bit sexy.
Really?
But I can pretend.
And that is exactly what is going on. These entities are pretending that they think that they are sexy, but at the end of the day, they know that they are abominations to God. They don't have a natural, God-given body. They have a botched, just mess, okay? And when they take their clothes off at the end of the day, they know this, they see what they are, and they pretend because they are disgusted as everyone else is who sees what they are.
One single joke on TV caused this woman to go on an unhinged rant against trans people, which just isn't true, and it's kind of just a self-report on her part. And it's really just a horrible thing to say. Plenty of trans people are happy with their bodies, and plenty of people also find them attractive. And even if she doesn't, that doesn't really matter because she's not the arbiter of all this. Even if she has her, like, opinion or whatever, why does she feel the need to even, like, say anything about it? I really don't get it. Like, why not just let people live how they're comfortable, even if you don't personally find them attractive or whatever? But honestly, what's funny is that this is kind of a contradiction too, because many times throughout the video, she's just like, oh, look at these drag performers, or look at these trans people. Look how feminine and passing and beautiful they are. And it's like, well then how can you call them abominations if you also admit that they're fucking serving? I don't get it. You know, I don't expect someone with eyes as dead as hers to have the introspection necessary to realize that she's being hypocritical. But it really is hilarious to look in as an outsider and realize just how far she's bending back to be hateful. Moving on though, so immediately after saying this stupid shit, she goes on to say this.
On the other hand, a true narcissist like myself, I know I'm sexy, and I would live in a house of mirrors if I could, because I am a real female in a real female body that was given to me by my creator, and saying that any of this was done by the hands of a surgeon is just a spit in God's face, and may he forgive you for blaspheming against him, because none of this is man-made, okay?
And again, if you're not tapped in with the transvestigator community like I am, this seems like a bit of a confusing statement. Like, why did she randomly go on this rant? And the reason is that she's defending herself from transvestigator allegations. Like, a lot of people in her own Facebook group will constantly try to transvestigate her. So she's denying it here by being like, oh, look at this. This is all totally real, and saying otherwise is an affront to God. Which is kind of funny. I feel like it's a little bit of circular logic here. Like, okay, so it's an affront to God to say you had surgery, but not when you claim other people had surgery. Alright, I think it's more of an affront to God to be transphobic in a period of rising transphobia. But what do I know? I'm probably trans too. And Nana, if you're watching this, I want a transvestigation in my email right now. I'll put it on my community tab. Also, you probably noticed that in this clip, she admits to being a narcissist. And I gotta say, that's definitely true. So as we've seen already, she refers to herself as queen. Like, the last time I referred to myself as king was my old Xbox gamer tag, which, to be fair, it works with the name, alright? So I got an excuse. But not only does Anana do this, but she also uses herself as a measure of femininity when transvestigating other women, which leads to the next section of the video. So, as you're probably wondering, how does Anana actually determine whether someone is secretly trans or not? Well, she looks at biomarkers. Biomarker, I hardly know her. And these are traits that are supposedly able to tell, like, what sex you were at birth. Now, quick disclaimer about biomarkers. I'm gonna attack her arguments within her own logic, because they're hilariously flawed, and it's really funny to point that out. However, it should be noted that even if Anana is right, that you could, like, always, quote-unquote, tell when someone transitioned, and that, like, gender traits are a complete binary with no variance. Like, say, cis men always had super narrow hips and there was no variation in that. Again, it's not true, just say for the sake of the argument. It still wouldn't really matter even in that worldview. Despite what transvestigators say, if a trans man has wide hips, that doesn't suddenly make them a woman. They're still a man and want people to respect that. Just like how a cis man having wide hips also doesn't make them suddenly a woman. It really just is as simple as respect identities no matter their traits. especially because both trans and cis people have a huge variety within gender traits anyway. Unlike what Anana tries to claim, it really isn't just like a binary of wide versus narrow hips, and oftentimes there's a lot of overlap in what we see. Even if you could quote-unquote tell that someone transitioned, I think that's a bit of a gross phrase anyway, and it's not really your place to like speculate. That doesn't mean they aren't their preferred gender, and it certainly doesn't give you a pass to speculate about it, misgender them, or in Anana's case, claim that they're part of some secret demonic cult that's running the government or something, and trying to corrupt our American souls or whatever. I really don't get it. I've watched hours of her content and I still don't understand her like main argument. It really does just boil down to, I don't like trans people, so I'm making shit up about them. With that out of the way, let's get into her actual methods, because they're honestly hilarious sometimes. So the first and probably dumbest one she uses is by looking at people's ring to pointer finger ratio, because apparently it's slight, but men and women tend to have a little bit different of a ratio. And note that I've said that tends to be true. Like, the only thing this really predicts is how much testosterone or estrogen you were exposed to in the womb, which can vary a good amount during normal circumstances anyway. Again, some people are just born with, like, traits that match closer to the opposite sexes. But no, to Anana, this is hard and fast proof that someone is secretly trans. Like, what? And what's funny is that these differences are really minute, and you can't actually really tell from a picture. You have to actually get out the fucking calipers, you know, and measure that. But no, Anana has gender sharing in, because despite this picture being in perspective, Anana's just like, yep, look at that ratio, it's totally a man's ratio. And either way, say this person was trans, who cares? That's what I find so funny. It's like, she spends all this time like proving this shit and being like, oh, look at this one, look at this one, isn't this so crazy? And it's just like, no, it really isn't. Like, I cannot possibly fathom caring this much about this. It's like, you know what I'm worried about in my life? I'm worried about whether they're bringing back Dracovish in Pokemon Champions, because I want to run Terra Water Dracovish. And she's over here just like, dude, I can't fucking believe this model's ring finger is too long. This is crazy. Like, dude, people really worry about this in their day-to-day life. That's wild to me. Every day I thank God that I did not end up like this. But moving on, Anana uses some other methods to like prove her point, quote unquote, such as shoulder width, skull shape. I know, we're busting out modern day phrenology. What a great argument. And probably the most common one that I've already mentioned, and that's hip width. She specifically looks for flared hips, which basically just means proportionally wide hips. And like I said, she's a little egotistical. Like, when transvestigating the people in the video, she shows that their hips are like masculine by showing her own quote unquote feminine hips. Like, wow, this is so scientific and totally convincing. Wow, could it be that even among cis women, people are built differently from each other? Hell no. Apparently the fact that they have slightly different builds means the one with the narrower hips is actually male to female. And like I said, the like natural variance argument kind of blows a hole in all of Anana's methodology. Like, even anthropologists will look at a skeleton and be like, okay, this skeleton was probably female. And you know, usually it's better to look at other context clues. And even Anana will admit that this is true, yet still uses a biomarker argument.
When you are transvestigating someone, you're going to want to make sure that you take in as many of the biomarkers as possible, because there are some males who have more feminine features, and there are some females like myself who have an athletic build, so we have more masculine features. On top of that, there are many different ways to try to, you know, surgically change the biomarkers or whatever, and we will get into that in a little bit.
Like, yes, she'll say it's a spectrum and say that these things tend to be indicators of sex at birth, but then we'll still be like, oh, look at this picture, her finger's a little too short, that means she is definitively transgender or something. Like what? Like, she tries so hard to seem smart and nuanced by, like, you know, conceding things to the other side, and then just completely ignores what she conceded. I find that hilarious. And it's like genuinely impressive how much cognitive dissonance this requires. It's like, wow, she really just admitted the opposition's argument was true, and then continued to use her argument that she admitted was false. Like, what? It's also funny because a lot of her claims don't actually line up with what's shown on screen. I unfortunately can't show too much of this because there's a bunch of barely censored naked people, but she'll look at a picture of a model and be like, oh look, she has such narrow, manly hips and broad linebacker shoulders, and it's like a picture of a literal hourglass, and I'm like, dude, are we seeing the same picture? And it's so funny because she'll use herself as a comparison, and either her pose is incorrect or there's just like zero difference between the pictures. But that's all I really have to say about biomarkers. It's quite literally the transvestigator's only argument, and I'm not even joking, it really just amounts to nothing. All that needs to be said is that cis people of each gender tend to have certain traits. There's a big variance. Like I keep saying, some dudes just have naturally narrow shoulders, or don't have a super prominent brow ridge or whatever. That doesn't mean they weren't born a male. And again, even if they were trans, that doesn't make their identity not deserving of recognition. And it's funny because Anana's logic doesn't even really make sense either. Like, you wouldn't say a cis woman is trans because she has narrow hips. You would just be like, oh, that's a cis woman with narrow hips. So why is it that we say that a trans woman with narrow hips isn't a woman? Again, makes zero sense in her own logic, but she just keeps running with it because she needs an excuse to hate on trans people. And pretends she's some, like, god-appointed freedom fighter who's, like, fighting the devilish trans people. It's so funny to me. But now that we've gone over how stupid, ignorant, and hateful her rhetoric is, now we can talk about the other goofy shit she says in this video. So one of the things I'm always interested in, how the supposed, like, deep state, Illuminati, Freemason people work. Like, what is their hierarchy like? What does everyone do? Again, what does it mean to be on Team Satan? Well, luckily, she explains that.
Yes, the people on the top of Satan's power pyramid are the Satanic Inverto puppets, which are basically completely controlled like meat puppets by the Great Deceiver.
Who up controlling they meat puppet? But basically, according to this totally legit, insane pyramid, cis men and women are at the bottom of the world, whereas trans people are at the very top. Once again, really affirming other than the satanic meat puppet part. But anyways, among these meat puppets, there are a few subcategories. So each different type of person has a different role in the deep state. According to this chart, which is written in the Live, Laugh, Love font for some reason, there are multiple classifications. So alphas are the leaders of this world, and they tend to be female to male. Every ruler, president, or actor is female to male. And Anana is claiming with a straight face, or whatever this is, that every single prominent public figure is secretly part of a demonic trans conspiracy, and yet no one has spilled the beans yet. Like, what? How are there thousands of these people and no one has said, like, anything? But moving on. So the next group on this chart are known as betas, or in quotes, sex kittens. What kind of a noun is... Oh, like, that sounds like a Discord nickname. So these betas are first ladies, actresses, and, like I said earlier, corn stars. Love this platform. This example I think is particularly disgusting because it kind of shows this community's, like, trans misogyny in particular. I feel like male to female people are always getting way more flack from transphobes than female to male. Like, Anana, why do you view trans women as sex kittens? And what is sexy about a kitten? Why are these two words put together? Yeah. The next classification are gammas, which are cis females who are also known as breeders. Breeder, I hardly know. Wow, Anana, you're a real feminist icon today, calling all trans women sex kittens and all cis women breeders. And then calling trans men or like rulers and stuff. Okay. And you know, trust me, I'm a real feminist icon, okay? Like, my feminist literature stack is as tall as me. 6'4", by the way. And one of my friends capitalized bell hooks the other day. So I beat his ass. Pick me, pick me, pick me. And the final classification she has are the Delta males, also known as the toy soldiers, who are assassins, hitmen, and military personnel. I guess I'm a hitman now. But Anana would probably say I'm like an alpha leader or something. I love this chart so much though. It's like, damn, we really got the 4 genders. Leader, sex kitten, breeder, and toy soldier. That's so good. And I find it funny how, like, objectively hilarious and nonsensical all this stuff she says is. But she's so dead serious the entire time. Like, how do you say this in such a serious tone? I don't get it.
They start to fall under the same contract that Satan is contracted to our creator under. So Satan and his direct meat puppets, the Invertos, aren't actually allowed to directly kill anybody. They have to use real males and females like the Deltas and the females that sign up for the army or whatever to do the killing for them. Alright, so Transvestigation 101.
Like, dude, what am I listening to? Where are your sources? Like, she just moves on to the next section like she didn't say something absolutely bonkers. Continuing on, though, with her bonkers logic, later in the video, she says this.
You gotta wonder how many people you've passed on the street that were also deceivers.
And I gotta say, no, I don't wonder that. I really just don't think about this at all in my day-to-day life. Again, it's so funny how much she cares about this specific thing when, like, no one else gives a fuck. Like, no, I am not thinking about what's in everyone's pants if I'm in public. I'm more worried about myself or whether I'm doing something stupid. But personally, I don't think she has the capacity for this sort of introspection. When she spends all her mental energy looking for, like, secret signs and shit in media.
Kira has a very masculine back with these very broad shoulders, but what I notice most is this little demon face in his hair. Do you see there's a mouth there, an eye, a nose, and these reptilian-like spikes that come out occasionally like that. Yeah, very creepy.
Like, what the hell? Ah, yes, the shadow has made a demon face and she has these reptilian spikes. Point proven, case closed, she is totally working with the devil. And yeah, the demons would totally give tiny little hints throughout their media. That's also what I find hilarious about these people. It's like, why would they give away their secret plot in little things like music videos? Like, what do they gain from this? But like I keep saying, it really doesn't have to make sense to her. She just has to have something that makes just enough sense to keep hating trans people. Speaking of things she hates, she also hates high-waisted clothes.
I've always been completely disgusted by high-waisted clothing. It's hideous, it makes you look like a granny, gives you a granny fanny, and it's just ugly.
Bro, you barely wear clothing. Why do you have an opinion on this? And look, I'm not being a prude. You can wear whatever you want. Because I am not the fashion police. But like, it's so funny to be like, damn dude, I'm about to drop a bombshell that's gonna change the world. It's gonna show this mass deception that we've all been living under. What should I wear during it? And like, imagine if I did that. I was just like, what's up guys? Today we're discovering this insane conspiracy theorist I found, and I'm just fucking shirtless the whole time. Okay, now stop imagining that, you freak. Speaking of freaky, the next 10 minutes are her just picking out really cherry-picked pictures of supposed bulges in female pants. Which like, my bad Anana, I forgot everyone just has a pubic void down there. And no joke, if you ever sat down wearing baggy jeans and it creates like a joner or whatever, like she would unironically use that as proof that you're trans. And this is by far, I think, the worst transvestigation method though. It's just so gross. But it is pretty funny though. Like, I cannot believe there are grown middle-aged adults with jobs who are just spending their time on Facebook examining bulges. What are you doing? I mean, it's also concerning though when you think about the type of jobs these people have. Like, damn, these people are really in the government. But after this final egotistical rant where she goes on to call herself beautiful in every single moment.
Okay, this is a boy, and this is what a real girl looks like. Look at these sexy curves, goodness gracious, okay.
She then goes on to talk about the neurological effects of corn addiction. Great, the only thing in the video that makes sense. And then immediately after that, she starts talking about semen retention and starts claiming that it'll give you better memory. And then she starts talking about semen retention and claiming that it'll give you better memory. And then she starts talking about... And then the video abruptly ends with a 3-minute music video of her swimming around in a lake. Like, imagine if my videos ended like that. Okay, now stop imagining that. But anyways, that's her entire Transvestigation 101 video. I know, that was literally all her proof. That was it. Like, if anything, all she really did is prove how varied humans' body can be regardless of gender or, like, cisness. But she thinks that she just dropped the bombshell, that she's the peak female specimen, and everyone else is fake because they look slightly different. But hey, now that we've seen this damning evidence, let's see what the comments thought. I've learned more from this video than I have from 1 hour at school, bruh. What fucking school are you going to then? Do you go to Bishop Sycamore? Like, how could you possibly say this? Thoroughly impressed. You convinced me. Didn't expect that. I feel like I'm watching bacteria in a petri dish, or you know, like YouTube Shorts comments. Like, what the fuck am I reading? Thanks for waking me up. One of my subscribers showed me this video. I've been exposing the truth for years. And yeah, I checked this guy's account, and the featured post was a video titled, Polo G sold his soul to the devil. Watch it before it gets deleted fast. Guess I better watch it. Oh, it was posted 4 years ago. I'm not even joking. In the time between filming and editing, it got deleted. It was up for 4 years, and yet the time I decided to mention it, that's when it got deleted. Okay, that's great timing. But moving on, back to Anana. So let's look at some of the other weird beliefs that Anana has. So as I mentioned, Anana is a flat earther. I'm not going to cover this in as much depth as the transvestigation thing, just because like, it's very well known now, and there's a lot of other smarter people who've already done it. I'll go over it a bit though, especially because it's a good segue into like some of her weirder like combinations of beliefs. Basically, flat earthers believe the earth is flat. There's actually no working model among this community. Their entire point is that the round earth model is wrong, but they never actually provide like one unified flat earth model that explains all the phenomena we see. Their whole point is just, oh yeah, the round earth model is wrong. That's it. Like, that's all. The major reason I've seen people get into this is that they'll find like one incorrect belief and just latch onto that like crazy and use that as like, you know, their entire worldview. Again, like Anana with the hip thing. But here's one of her premises for the flat earth though.
But now, apparently, because of being able to see the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, Jaren is like gone full globetard again, which doesn't make any logical sense. Because once you know that water doesn't bend, you don't go back to believing that water bends.
I mean, yeah, she's right that water doesn't curve in a bathtub. But like, that's at such a small scale. But properties that matter at one scale don't necessarily explain how they act at another scale. Let's say we had a bunch of water that was spread across thousands upon thousands of miles, and all of it was acted with a downward uniform force around a ball. So it would seem flat where you're standing, but when you zoomed out, it would be round at a larger scale. But that would make too much sense. Instead, Anana is content at just saying water doesn't curve, and just lets that influence her entire belief system. And I'm not even joking, like I'm not even being unfair to her here. Listen to this.
When I started Awakening in 2015, I saw Mark Sargent's Under the Dome full documentary and woke up to Flat Earth and kind of just accepted it and moved on to other topics. My area of, what pulls me to research is like the spiritual stuff and that kind of category. So for me, it's just like, okay, the earth is flat, whatever.
So without a hint of irony, she admits that one day someone just explained the flat earth theory to her and she just accepted it. That was it. Instead of looking for evidence to disprove that before accepting it, she now looks for evidence to validate that because that's the conclusion she's already accepted. Again, I've said this before on this channel like 10 times, but like, why does it take people so little convincing to get into these weird countercultural conspiracy theories, but so much to get out of it? It really is bizarre to me. And I think it's partly due to her spiritual beliefs. From what I could tell, she's a fundamentalist Christian, which is ironic because she also was like into witchcraft. But like, what the fuck? I thought that was like banned or whatever. But no, apparently she's the exception. And she's one of the fundamentalist Christian types who tries to make the Bible support her really crazy conspiracy theories. So she often cites the Bible in her transvestigation videos and uses like biblical logic as her justification. Again, like the whole satanic meat puppet thing. I can't say that phrase with a straight face. And she also uses the Bible to argue for a flat earth, which is it's just so funny to me, man. Like, if you're gonna take anything from the Bible, regardless of if you're religious or not, I think love thy neighbor is the thing to take. But Anana's just like, fuck my neighbors, they're probably trans. Let's instead overanalyze random Old Testament verses to try to prove that the earth is flat. Also, this video is titled Flat Earth Drama. And in case you're wondering what flat earth drama she's discussing, she's just giving someone shit for leaving the flat earth community. And I find it so funny that this is some people's real lives. Like, damn, how are you unironically worried about flat earth drama? Like, okay, look, I'm talking about it, but I get paid to do this, alright? Anana does this for pure love of the game. Also, it should be noted that despite the title, the flat earth part isn't actually what most of the video is about. And that's very common among her videos. Like, she has a couple major interests, and she just mixes and matches them for every video with, like, no structure at all. It's so funny. Like, here's her hobbies. She's big into chess, transvestigation, flat earth theories, spirituality, combating Satan, protesting urine therapy, I'll explain that one in a bit, and veganism. But then just an absolutely bizarre mashup of hobbies. And like, look at this video title, man. It's called Chess News and the Truth of Our Reality. Like, wow, dude, that is a crazy combination. Well, for one, what kind of news is there in chess? Holy hell, they patched out en passant. But basically, this video is just her explaining some openings, and then she just randomly goes on a transphobic rant talking about, like, the whole transvestigation theory. This channel is just so funny to me, because, like, she just has the most bizarre formatting I've ever seen. Like, she'll go from chess news to transvestigation, and yet she still has, like, a pretty small dedicated fan base. That's so funny to me. It just really shows that, like, no matter what you are, no matter what interests you have a niche online, alright? Did I pronounce it right that time? Please tell me, commenters. I know some of you get mad at how I pronounce that. But it's even funnier that she has an audience because some of the stuff she covers is even more bizarre than what we just looked at. For example, a huge amount of her videos are about exposing the lies of urine therapy. What the hell is urine therapy, you ask? Well, it's any sort of, like, alternative medical treatment that claims that urine has the power to, like, cure ailments either by drinking it or applying it. But Anana put out this video titled Urine Therapy Exposed, where she points out that certain spiritual communities are using urine therapy and then claims that it's evil. Again, it's just two incorrect groups fighting over nothing, but it's pretty funny to watch. But basically, this whole video, she basically just reads an article that calls urine therapy evil by citing a bunch of old, like, Hindu texts or whatever. Like, okay, Shiva said that drinking pee is evil, so it must be. I thought you were Christian like 2 videos ago. Like, why are we listening to Shiva now? Why are we... What happened to, you shall have no other god other than me? And if she's willing to pick and choose which parts of the Bible she listens to, why does she pick the parts that justify flat earth and transphobia? Like, what? Again, it's just an excuse to hate people and be part of this weird, like, secret, cool counterculture that knows the truth of the world. But I still find it bizarre. And I think you probably see why I find this person so interesting. And look, I don't believe in urine therapy either, alright? I mean, it's basically just salty water. Like, I don't think anyone really does believe in this. But Anana frequently claims in her videos that, like, the elites, which is code for, the satanic meat puppet trans people. Damn, these are just... I'm saying a lot of great sentences today. I'm like, wow. But, like, she's claiming that these elites are trying to get us to partake in urine therapy as a way to, like, mess with our souls or something. And, like, it sounds really similar to the type of people who are claiming that the elites are trying to get us to, like, eat bugs or whatever. Which, sorry, but neither of these are true, and if so, the elites need to do a way better job with propaganda. A lot of weird right-wingers keep insisting that there's, like, bug-eating propaganda out there. I've never seen it. What are we talking about? They're doing a pretty bad job if you ask me. And it's even funnier because Anana goes one step further and claims that elites are trying to get us to drink pee. But it's like, dude, what does your newsfeed look like? What kind of articles are you getting? Like, I even looked up urine therapy on Google Scholar, and, like, basically nothing pulled up. So it's like, dude, where are these elites trying to force us to drink that? Why are you fighting a fight that doesn't exist? It's so funny to me. But speaking of battles, I mentioned that Anana has a fan base, but she also has ops. So she was one of the creators of the largest transvestigator groups on Facebook, called Transvestigation Disclosure Now, which wasn't always well received. A lot of people disliked how she moderated because she'd delete a lot of the comments she disagreed with. And not only that, but a lot of her group members started transvestigating her, like I mentioned, which is why she puts out so many videos proving that she's not. And I find it funny because, like, even in conspiracy logic, why would a trans person start a transvestigation group? That makes no sense. But this led to 2 other groups being created to escape from her tyranny. The idiot revolution, if you will. Oh, and another reason they split is that some of them are part of QAnon, but Anana isn't, because she thinks that QAnon is, like, controlled opposition to the government to get people who would otherwise be opposed to, like, actually support them. Like, oh, I hate the government, but I love Trump. She's accidentally kinda right. But she thinks the issue is that Trump is trans, and not because he's a bad person. Again, idiot infighting. It's so funny. And what's funny is that this split led to an even greater worship of Anana within the groups, because, like, you know, it just kind of radicalized them, especially among the mods. So one of the mods, I pointed him out last video, his name is David D. And as much as I hate this word, he is an absolute simp, alright? I thought long and hard, but I really just can't think of a better word to describe him. Maybe White Knight? Which is also funny because his profile picture is a fucking pawn. Like, this is some divine irony right here. And he spends most of his time just defending Anana from the trans allegation. Freemasons! So he spends most of his time defending Anana from the trans allegations for literally nothing in return other than occasional attention. He writes poetry about Anana's cisness. This isn't even the worst of it, because a little while back, Anana put out a video revealing that David D sent her a Valentine's Day gift, despite them not even dating. And it's like, dude, David, look, you've been doing this for years. I feel like you should get the hint by now, but whatever. If anything, though, this is a bit inspiring. It's like, damn, you could be a transphobic flat earther who spends their time chanting Latin on YouTube, and there's still someone out there for you. This is really motivating. But that's about all I have on Anana for today. I just found her interesting because, again, she's a great case study for conspiracy theorists. Like, she has very bizarre beliefs that require very little proof for her to latch onto. Weird spiritual justifications for said beliefs, despite her not taking the rest of these religions seriously. She also has a bizarre mix of theories. Again, it's never just one thing with these people. It's always a mix. And usually, these theories are at the expense of some sort of minority. And in her case, it's trans people. And it's gross and stupid. But anyways, I hope you found this interesting as well. That's about all I got. Later. Swerve the Benz truck high off chemtrails. Crashed that shit into the Sky Dome. They kicked me out of Bohemian Grove for smoking all the reptilian Reggie. My girl worked for the CIA. She blowing my brains out like I'm Johnny K. Hit the ops with the kill shot. I'm moving like Fauci.
Money longer than Epstein's flight logs. Saw my ex in public, so I pretended I was blind. I'm moving like Stevie Wonder.